everybody, how you doing? Rich is here, Rich the architect, and today I have a guest, Matt Auterson with Apex Home Loans.
Hey guys
and
gals.
Yeah, so Matt is a business development for the mortgage team.
Yep, for the Bill Mervin Team.
Yeah, for Apex Home Loans. So I'm going to let him talk. We're going to talk a little bit of technology in both of our businesses today. So Matt, why don't you just start, give us a little intro, your origin story.
Yeah.
A little bit about
Thank you for having me.
No problem.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
And so a little bit about myself. I grew up in New York City, Queens, and Staten Island for the most part. A little small stint in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Growing up, yeah. My dad was a pastor, was in ministry. My parents, and so we had a few different church experiences that we were at, and then we settled in Staten Island, where I met my wife actually as a child and in middle school, and we got married at 19. We've been married 14 years. I look 12 years old, but I've been married a long time, and I got into the mortgage business kind of backwards, as most people do.
Okay.
And a family friend of ours was in the business, and he always said that he saw some sales ability in me and thought I could do well. I liked finance, I liked numbers, and so I started working for him. Very kind of old school, traditional mortgage guy, and paper files, no technology at all, and lacking technology. Yeah. And then I knew I wouldn't be there forever. I knew it was kind of like a learning experience. I stayed with him for about 2 years, and I was his loan officer assistant, his LOA, and learned the business literally from the ground up. Running paper files, stacking literal paper files, and then Bill Mervin, my team leader and regional manager today, ended up recruiting me, ended up calling me. We built a small relationship over a period of months, and I felt like it was the right move. My wife and I made the decision together, and we both felt like it was the right place for me to take my career to the next level. Okay. And 3 years later, every promise this man has made me has come true, and then some. And really impeccable man of his word. I'm just seeing that thing behind you. He's a man of faith, and he truly is one of these guys, under-promised, over-delivered every step of the way. And so he created a mortgage origination team, which in our business, you typically have a loan officer, which is a single person. They wear a lot of hats. They go and build relationships and get the business, to taking good mortgage applications and consultations, to talking to all the families that are out there shopping for homes currently that are pre-approved and staying on top of them. And then once you go under contract, that's when we really go to work. And our specific team has a 73-step perfect loan process we take every borrower through. But I think the last I heard, there's somewhere about 180 different things that have to happen once you go under contract with a mortgage, specific tasks. Okay. So quite a few things. And then also there's a deadline of about 15 to 30 to 45 days. Right. So you have a lot of tasks that have to be performed, to dealing with government vendors and IRS and employers and all these different things, as well as a time crunch. So it really takes somebody very, very good and smart, intelligent, and even then, most mortgage people don't make it in the business. It's very difficult to break into. So he saw this through coaching. He recognized there was a problem, that you've got one person wearing all these hats, and it's nearly impossible to do them all. The average loan officer in America does 1.8 loans a month. So because there's so much to do,
there's 73 to 180 tasks to do. Yeah,
you're not able to do all of it. So he broke the whole thing apart. And one of the operating core values we have is the Japanese principle of Kaizen, continuous improvement. If it's not broken, break it and make it better. All right. And so he broke it, and he busted a lot of skulls in the process. He essentially, through coaching, took this job of a loan officer, and we segmented each role out. And my job in business development is to create relationships with referral partners, mainly in the real estate space, realtors, title people, but also we lend ourselves well to financial advisors, people in the financial space. We're actually, Bill is a certified mortgage planner, so he in mortgage planning is a critical part of the overall financial plan. But most financial advisors meet loan officers that are very transactional, so we lend ourselves well to mortgage planning and financial advisors because of that. And then he segmented each role out. And so I go and get the business, and we have a beautiful team of professionals that actually help service the clients, there afterwards.
Okay. So the mortgage planning, is that, I mean, I think of mortgage as just simply like, oh, I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to get a mortgage.
Yep, I'm going to get a rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's mortgage planning?
Great question. So mortgage planning is similar to, in the overall financial planning of a family or an individual. If you think about it like a wheel, mortgage planning is one spoke of that wheel. You have risk and insurance and protection. You have growth and mutual funds and managing even some who own single stocks. And there's all these different assets of financial planning, wealth management, and very few times one person can do all of these different things.
Yeah.
So a financial advisor often doesn't know our side of the business. They may high level know little things here and there. Rates are down, it looks like you should refinance. But they don't know some of the nitty-gritty details in specific loan programs and why one might be better than another for a family based on how long they'll be in the home, based on cash flow, based on their long-term goals. For an example, Bill had just recently taken a family who had 22 years left in their loan back to 30. And so most people go, well, didn't they just lose 8 years? Why would they do that? Well, he actually was able, in conjunction with their financial advisor, to actually fund some college savings plans with the equity in their home, and then taught the family that with $150 in additional principal reduction, meaning an extra $150 each month on the loan, they're going to catch back up to 22 years. So that's not a conversation the average loan officer is having.
Yeah.
Most loan officers in America are button pushers. With respect to these men and women, they're in a call center somewhere, pressing a few buttons, spitting out an interest rate, and in some cases even asking the borrower, hey, do you guys want to go FHA or conventional? As if the borrower has any clue what that means.
Right.
So what Bill does is he takes a step back, and our team, Michael and Tracy and our team of certified mortgage planners, take a consultative approach, holistically, looking at this, how does this mortgage, which is going to impact your cash flow, because you have either a lot of money down or you have a large payment each month, usually most people's largest payment in their financial budget, most family, most individuals, how does that impact other financial decisions you're making in your life, i.e. college savings for children, retirement planning, investment strategy. So when he looks at this, he's not looking at it one-sided. He's slowing down, doing it holistically as an advisor, and in conjunction with your financial advisor. We don't want to disturb something that they may have set up, that we may, again, with most mortgage guys, just asking basic questions to get you qualified. What often happens is you have a salesperson who is got commission breath, who is basically putting you in a loan product that may or may not be best for you over the course of your lifetime. Right. Or maybe not even, maybe what if you're in the home for 5 years? Maybe it doesn't fit your goals, but they're just asking very basic questions to say, okay, well, you're approved for this payment, which could equal with these taxes, $300,000, and then the family hears $300,000 and they go shopping and they max themselves out. They're house poor, and it limits their ability to do other things that they wanted to do in their lifetime or within the next decade or a few decades.
Yeah, so I'll give myself as an example. Like here, we're sitting here in the building that my family owns.
It's beautiful.
For my, thank you, and for my office and then my wife's ballet school. So if we came and we were looking to purchase a home, our discussions, it sounds to me, wouldn't necessarily be about, okay, we're looking for a $300,000 home. It's going to be a little bit more of overall picture of like, hey, here's our businesses, this is what we're doing there, these are some other situations, our kids are getting older, the college thing, and whatever else might be there. So it's a more of a full round.
We call it holistic. It's essentially,
That's a good
sometimes, and I've been prepped. So this is but what ends up happening often is that what if we had a guy recently who was thinking about putting solar panels and was going to go get an additional loan to cover solar panels during the process or after the process was over. So Bill can look at that, and yet he was putting 20% down. So these are conversations conversations we're having, and there's not right or wrong, because for some families, or some individuals, I keep saying family, but it's individuals as well, they may choose one route over another based on their specific goals that may be different than you and I or our families. So it's really not a one-size-fits-all. It's very custom. And then Bill has been in the business for 17 years. Like I said, he's a certified mortgage planner. So he has strategies, mortgage planning strategies. In a past life, he was a quasi-financial advisor as well. So he has some financial strategies that he weaves in, just knowing that there are things that may benefit you, and he may make recommendations to the borrower that may benefit them and their goals, and work in concert with each other. Rather than what most people's view of what we do is most people's view is that we spit out an interest rate, and then they get to go shopping for a house. And while on the surface that's true, when you go a little deeper, you can uncover that there's quite a few things that may fit you and your family, or you and your household more than others. So we just want to look at this, slow down, and look at this in a holistic advisory way. Is the best way to describe it.
It's very interesting, because as you're talking, I'm thinking about my process that I have with clients in the architecture side. So using just residential as an example, it's like, I have a client come to me, like I have a client, a couple, they wanted to do a renovation on their home. And what they wanted to do a very big renovation. So they had a one-story rancher. They wanted to add a second story. So tear off the roof, build a second story, and make all these changes. But for the most part, except for the living area, like the kitchen, the dining room, all that stuff was going to change. But there was like 2 or 3 bedrooms on that first floor. They were going to basically keep them in the same spot. Some minor changes with the bathroom. There's going to be like an additional door for the back, and one of the bedrooms was going to turn into a study because it was going to be right off of the living room. But the second story, they were going to have this 2-story space with a bridge that connected the master suite to the kids' bedrooms, and this grand stair in the middle and all this, and it changed the roof. Obviously, it wasn't like take the roof and just move it up.
Move it up.
With all that different stuff, because we had to change foundations and all this, it was like one of these things where it was like, it wasn't like, oh, just raise the roof, add a couple bedrooms, and call it a day.
Just raise the roof.
It was like, I remember, like, I was over there one day when the framing was pretty much done, and the client was over there, and he was just like, he said, I should have just, like, tore this house down.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, you actually benefited yourself by not tearing the house down. It was like a bigger picture thing where I was like, because they're in the Pinelands, which are, I'm sure you're familiar with there's like a bunch of approvals with that. If he tore the house down, he'd have to go up to all of these different approvals with the Pinelands. I'm like, you actually saved yourself time there. But it's like, for me, I was like, it was a good idea. Like, I knew that there was going to be so much work in the house, and that they may actually think that, but it was like, but I kept on going the way we were going because I knew of the Pinelands thing, and it was like we'd still be sitting there probably waiting for approvals right now, rather than right now. They probably started at the beginning of this year, and they should be moving in by the holidays.
That's amazing.
And if we would have gone through the Pinelands, they'd still be waiting for their
And you
approvals.
just having that little bit of extra information was able to probably save them significant time.
And it was something I didn't necessarily need to tell them. But it was like I knew what the bigger picture was. And all the implications. Even if I had a client who was like, oh, I'm just looking to add an addition for a kitchen or a bathroom, it's like I'm looking at it in the overall thing. They may only be looking at that kitchen and the bathroom, but there's other things there, and so
there's other elements that come into play.
And I mean, I've told clients sometimes I'm actually protecting themselves, sometimes against themselves, and sometimes against like the contractors or the township or all that. But it's like I know the bigger picture, so I'm more of a benefit to them. And I think it sounds to me the way you're talking about the process that you guys have at the Apex Home Loans, it's very, very similar.
It is, and so Bill is actually in coaching with our CEO, and that's what recently brought us to Apex. We just transitioned our team. Bill opened up the region, all of Greater Philadelphia region for Apex Home Loans, and so Apex as a company is got that in the DNA. It's a mortgage advisory firm, and so it really just a lot of alignment in that way. Taking a consultative approach, slowing down. I'm going to actually hit the pause because I just realized I'm sorry about this.
Okay.
I just realized last time I recorded, I didn't put it in airplane mode, and I got, every time I get a text message and a phone call,
Okay.
I get jammed up. I hope this doesn't screw us up.
No, I'll keep this running and I can kind of cut.
You'll cut it in?
I'll cut it
Okay.
out, yeah.
Please forgive me.
I was about to stop it. I was like, you know what, no, it'd be easier for me to cut it.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to continue from here. Sorry about that. It would be
fine.
better than just realizing we had no tape rolling.
Oh, you're saying it's kind of connected to your...
What happens is when I get a text message, for some reason, the camera bugs out.
Okay.
And then if I get a phone call, it stops it altogether.
I got you.
And it's likely that both of those things are going to happen because it's just now after 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'll take one more sip of this.
Maybe I'll keep it in. I don't know.
I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah.
Forgive me. Okay. We can continue. Sorry about that.
That's fine. And we're
back.
Okay, Matt had a little technical thing there.
Commercial break.
So with the camera over there, but I think we're all set. So yeah. So funny thing is, the example I gave you, my client, financial advisor.
No way.
Yeah, you may know him, but well, I won't say his name.
No worries.
Yeah,
Of course.
Well, you may know him now that I think about it.
That's so funny. You know what's crazy? And that's the thing. It's just because somebody is in one category, a financial advisor or a mortgage person or a realtor or an attorney. That's why having somebody who's a specialist is important, because nobody is a jack of all trades, master, because as you always know, the old adage is they're a master of none. We believe it's in our core DNA that we believe that it is virtually impossible to provide a level of service, what we call white glove service, to both the clients and the realtors who trust us with the referrals to begin with, by ourselves as an individual operator. We have some loan officers on our team that are just single individual loan officers, and they do the best they can to the best of their ability, but there is just something different about the Bill Mervin team and the way we do things. For example, I give you one more example, even not just on the client-facing side, but even on the realtor-facing side. My job in business development is I work with, obviously I go and expand our team into different areas and lines of business with different referral partners. That is a core part of what I do. But in addition to that, I get the privilege of, Bill always says, instead of outstretched hands, which is what most mortgage guys do, where's those referrals, realtor, give me those referrals, we lock arms. So instead of it being a one-way street, or the false promise, which is, oh yeah, I got you, I'll get you referrals, and then they never come.
Right.
Our whole model is predicated on, let's work together. It's no longer just your responsibility to be thinking about your business in a strategic way that could bring referrals in, whether that means Facebook or social media advertising, which we do a substantial amount of, or
the reason why we had to just take a break there.
Exactly.
For your camera.
For the camera and the phone calls. But getting involved in things or coaching them and training them. I've got 10 or 15 years of sales, and marketing experience in a few different arenas, not just real estate. And so what I bring to the realtor is, a knowledge, without sounding, like I'm patting myself on the back, but some knowledge that sometimes when they're just a realtor and they've just done this, or they've seen a measure of success in one area, I can bring something different, a different perspective in, and ask some probing questions that may allow them to think, or we can chat together about their personal branding, for example. What message are they displaying to the world? As a realtor, it's not like you have this widget, you put it on the shelf, you sell it, and that's your product. You just make sure packaging looks good. You're the package as an agent. How you display your brand and how how it looks and feels to the consumer, often through social media today, is very important, because it says to the viewer or the person receiving this message, this is who I am, this is what I'm trying to get you to understand about who I am, and the kind of level of service I'll provide you if you were to choose me as your realtor. And how you answer questions like that will determine the level of which, I believe, the success you'll see monetarily, in terms of how many people will trust you with your referral or with your home purchase.
Right.
So, in my world, in both of our worlds, since we both touch real estate as an architect and as a lender, this is the the most complex financial transaction of most people's lives on the largest purchase they're likely to make.
Right, yep.
And so when you have somebody who was a bank teller last week doing that, or somebody who's maybe they're skipping the architect because they find it to just be an expense, and they're just I think that the contractor can just draw it. Just get the chuck in a truck, chuck in a truck. He can come, he can draw it, he can sketch it out. Look, we just avoided the architect fees. It's a little different. It's a little different when you're in some cases you have to have an architect. I realize that, but
well, in your scenario there, I call those after the fact clients because then they go to the town and they try to get away with that, and sometimes they actually do,
which is even more sad.
I can also argue the legality of the townships allowing that to happen, but then other townships are like, no, you need an architect for this, and then they come to me. And of course, the conversation always starts off with like, well, we were trying to do this ourselves, and the contractor was going to do it. It didn't happen, and we don't have a lot of money.
Yep.
But I'm just like,
it's after
it doesn't change. Like I always find that funny because I'm like, well, my service is still going to be the same.
Exactly.
So why would I? Let me take 50% off because you tried it some other way.
Because the contractor ended up getting the money that you should have been investing to start this. It's like there's a story about building your house on the sand and on the rock, right? Building your house on a foundation that's firm, starting with the right process of hiring the right people who are specialists in what they do. Our worlds are very similar in that way. If you don't hire an architect and build it on that firm foundation, and you built it on sand, and not saying that by just going with the contractor it's built on sand, but if you're missing some pieces there, the first time there's a storm that comes, the house gets destroyed. But if it's built on a rock, the storm comes and it's a firm foundation.
Yeah.
In our world, we had a borrower who was very qualified, nearly $500,000 in income, over 800 credit scores, thought they could go up and down the block and get a loan from anybody at any bank, only to find out that they spent 6 months looking for a house. They went under contract finally in the home that they found to be their dream home. They registered their kids in a new school district. They packed their house in boxes. They were living in toiletry bags for a month and a half. All to find out right there at the 11th hour in underwriting, the underwriter found something that the loan officer missed 6 months earlier, and they should have never even put an offer in on this house because they had some things with their taxes and the way they wrote things off and so on and so forth. Those are the kind of families that are sitting on the couch in our office in tears going, we're about to lose potentially our deposit money. We've already invested money in appraisals and inspections, and we've spent 6 months looking to even have a house like this. Help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're living in toiletry bags, our house in boxes, our kids are registered for school. So here's what in this particular case, Bill, if he had been involved in the beginning, he would have been able to do, and luckily, actually, he was able to fix this one. They had investment properties, which he was able to add the depreciation back in on. They also had about $30,000 in unreimbursed business expenses, which he was also able to add back in. So he caught things even the underwriter at another mortgage company missed, which is even more hilarious. The underwriter is supposed to be that last line of defense.
Right.
And Bill caught things that they missed and was able to actually help this family and get them in the home in about 17 days. We closed. So it was one of these miracle stories, which is great. But it also very well could have been not. It could have been that they lost the house, they lost their deposit money, and all these things happened. And so we rather say, hey, look, yes, there are banks and places you can get loans from, and if the only thing in your mind is, well, let me just shop for the lowest interest rate, if you had a 0% loan, but you never actually got to the house you wanted, what do you have? You have nothing.
Yeah.
So reliability is incredibly important in this business to actually get to the closing table on time, on budget, the way it was originally promised. And we don't walk on water, we're not perfect, but when we make commitments to a family and we put our name and approval on there, we've done our homework, we've done the research, we've looked things up, and you have a substantial likelihood of actually that being the case.
Right.
Again, we don't make claims that we are perfect by any means, but we do our best and we do our homework.
Yeah. Well,
and we have the team which allows us the bandwidth to do it.
Yeah. Because it's interesting because in your business and my business or other professional services, whether it's a lawyer, a doctor, even a dentist, is we're providing, in some ways, it is like a commodity to the public, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I'm sure you and everyone in your company and myself, like, we think we're the best at what we do, right? Yeah. But the public doesn't necessarily know that, or even think that, and is seeing stuff on the surface. So it's all about, like, really educating them. And I think when you mentioned, like, social media and all of that, is to try to let the, like, I mean, we're doing a podcast right now. This is part of the education to the public. Yeah. Is, the story you just told is a good one in terms of that. And I could tell hundreds of different stories, because it's like I go, when I talk to a new client, like whether it's an after-the-fact client or something, like I get referrals through contractors sometimes, and I give them prices, right? And I get a lot of like, well, that's too much. And I'm like, well, it really comes down to, like, for me, I'm very comfortable. I used to not be comfortable with, I've been doing this for 10, 11 years now. At first, I'd be like, when somebody's like, oh, it's too much, I'd kind of cave in and go lower. Now I stand firm,
good for you.
But I educate. Is really, I'm like, well, this is what you're getting. This is why it's this much. Well, I talked to somebody else and they're half the price. Well, I can't really answer to what that other company is charging you or what they're doing, but what I have found in some practices, I've seen firms where they undercut the price and then charge extras. So they get in the door.
The same with our end. The teaser rate. It happens on our world all the time.
So I'm just like, but I'm telling you, and I will definitely tell them some scenarios I see, like the one I gave you before with the Pinelands approval. I've done stuff down at the shore, so there could be DEP approvals, but I will put everything out front and be like, these are all the costs, these are all, the potential, roadblocks you may have. I'm going to put that out to you. I want to give you all the information now.
Good for you.
And let them make an educated decision. And sometimes I lose work because of that. But
Same here.
That's
that's exactly right. We get people who call and they're like, well, what's your rate? And they're comparing it to a depository bank or a broker. The brokers in our world are just middlemen, essentially, who they have very little control of the process because they're dealing with all these different banks all over the country. And so we control the process all the way through post-closing, through funding support, through everything. So there's just a whole different level of control in terms of the banking world versus the broker world. But even I would even argue worse than the broker world, or the depository banks, who are sometimes working for free in a sense, or for very little, or they're so large that their costs are slightly lower, but you're getting just a different level of experience, expertise, and other things. The same thing happens on our side. I think our businesses are very similar.
Like in my example, my equal to that is like whether it's a volume-based architecture firm, where they're just trying to get as many as they can get in there, or the drafting companies who can do a floor plan, and there's the legality of it. Like I've been like, no, they're not even legally supposed to do that. Like I could report them to the architects board and they could be fined for practicing architecture without a license, a firm architecture, or even or a person. There's two firm license. When it comes to architecture licensure, there's two parts to it. So there's a personal license. So I am personally a licensed architect, and now I have an architecture firm. The firm needs to be licensed as well. So I have two licenses to legally operate as a business in the practice of architecture. You would be surprised how many firms out there are not properly licensed as an architecture firm. And it's very simple to go in. You can go to the state architects board, whether I'm licensed in both Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and probably all the other states have it too. You go to their website and you can search for a person to be licensed, and then the firm license. You go under firm license, you would be surprised how many. Like I'm on like a architects Facebook group. And there was somebody one time, and there are people around the country, around the world in this group, and it's great. I got this issue, blah blah blah. We talked about one last week. We don't have to get into that, but it's the same group that I mentioned to you. somebody one time was like, hey, they actually lived in Collinswood, and they were, I think, moving to Texas or something.
wow.
And they had a practice here, and they were like, hey, we're moving, so I'm not going to be able to serve this client in Collinswood. Anybody in New Jersey, licensed in New Jersey, interested? So people were like, oh yeah, and I went in, I was like, oh,
Sure.
I'm nearby. But then I was like, kind of seeing like other people who were commenting, and I went to the architects like board, and I was like, the personal one I don't even look at.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, yeah, these people are that. But I was looking at these people's firms.
Oh, wow.
Especially there was actually somebody I know who has a firm.
Oh, wow.
And I like looked up the firm name in New Jersey, and it wasn't there. And I'm like, oh, they can't even like practice, but they could potentially get it. And the funny thing is a lot of townships and towns don't even check the firm licensure, so it'll still go through.
Oh, wow.
But it's like there's a lot of this. Like I'm like, it's not even legal.
That's unbelievable.
And so so
It's a lot harder on our end, on our side to do that.
Yeah.
You know, with the banking licensing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So luckily on my side of the business, I deal with the referral partners and the realtors. So I leave a lot of our side of compliance and stuff like that in the client facing and things of that nature to our licensed team of more certified mortgage planners.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I would never even think that would be happening in your world. That's unbelievable.
Oh yeah, it's all over. I mean, I had a situation where somebody was like, who was not licensed, was kind of using my relationship with them to get work, and I kind of was like, so it's a little bit of like a really, like
That's a sticky.
gets me sometimes,
Yeah, sure.
But
Yeah, because it's like it took you so long to do it the right way, and then when you take shortcuts, it's like it's disrespectful to the time it took you to invest in going about it the right way.
Yeah, and I think about it, there's more than one instance where that
I'm
happened
sure.
to
You
me
know what?
over the years.
And there's so many. One thing I would just encourage you with it. There's always going to be injustices like that.
Yeah.
And if you spent your time trying to make right those injustices, you're doing a disservice to your own family, because you should be spent rainmaking and doing the things that your license allows you to do. Go out there and do it. So
it's a little bit like, why am I worried about somebody else?
Yeah.
It's like I've still got my own thing.
Well, it's like
there's enough work to go around.
Absolutely, and you know what?
Yeah.
In the abundance mentality, there's a lot of people out there. We've experienced it. We're growing. We're growing fast. Our team as a larger team, we have what's called the Bill Mervin Team, which sits inside of the mortgage consortium region of Apex Home Loans. So it could be a little bit confusing. But our region, our team, which Bill is the regional manager of, we did about $70 million in loan production last year, a little over 350 families that we helped.
Yeah.
So that's, when you're doing, in all of Greater Philly too, that's not like, hey, that was all over the country, that's just here.
Yeah.
So when you're making some waves in that way, you can also ruffle some feathers of some people who have, quite frankly, been in the business a long time and who are resting on their laurels, let's call it, and they're not bringing the value that we're bringing to the agents and to the clients and stuff.
Yeah.
And so you can ruffle some feathers, and so there's two ways to approach that. You could either approach that by you ruffle the feathers, and you could either become the person that's gonna, the old story of, there's two ways to build the tallest building in town. You can either construct the highest building and just focus on making yours the most incredible building and the highest it can be, or you can build a regular sized building like everybody else's and then just tear everybody else's down, and now you technically have the highest building in town. We've taken the first option as our method. We're focused on ourselves. We're focused on what we're doing. What kind of value are we bringing to the agents and to the clients? And when we stay in that lane, and we stay in the lane of focused on bringing the most value we can ethically and morally, and there's just the right way is the best way I can say it. Then it will come back to you. You will reap what you sow, and when you do it the other way, You have no peace. You're constantly with anxiety, and you're focused on. Have you ever seen that meme where it's the two guys swimming like in an Olympic swimming pool next to each other?
Okay.
And it's one guy whose head's down and he's just swimming, and then the other guy who's slightly behind him, next to him in the other lane, his head's up looking at him.
Yeah.
And the meme is winners focus on winning and losers focus on winners.
Right. Yeah.
And I always thought that was cool. And I have certainly been just as guilty of that in my own life and career. Often. I mean, I think it's not just isn't like a one and done. It's every day. This is a struggle and a battle that you have to come into your business and say, okay, today, if I want peace, if I want to just, I don't have enough hours in a day to truly do everything. I can only do what I'm able to do. If I really want to have presence and time at home with my family, I've got to make some concessions in my schedule. And I don't have time to get involved in the negative. I don't have time to worry about what my competition is doing or who's liking whose post and who's, and sometimes I can get very caught up, like I'm sure everybody else can in that world. And you see somebody that I work with and they took a picture with another, mortgage person, or they're liking or whatever, or, and so you can get caught up in that kind of stuff. But the real thing is that there is enough to go around. Nobody is exclusive to anybody. Everybody works with everybody in some cases, or it spreads it around a little bit from here to there. Or the client could have selected that person. We had no idea, and they knew each other, both of them. And here I'm creating this whole scenario in my mind, but the reality was it's just this negativeness that comes out. So just keeping that in check, and knowing that we have to just do our best. And when you do your best, and when you build the tallest building and you focus on winning, you're not focused on other people, which will bring you more peace and more joy in your life. Not happiness, there is a difference, but you can have peace without having, you're never going to be this. That's why I get a little bit wonky with this pursuit of happiness concept, because we could go a whole other tangent on that one, but finding peace and joy in the journey. It is the journey of success that we're on, and success doesn't just mean money, in my opinion. There's other attributes to it in terms of health and family and faith and other things that I focus on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But that if you're not enjoying where you are today, and you're always worried about the future, or you're always worried about, either you're thinking about the past and concerned about the past, or you're anxious about the future, well, the one place your mind is not is in the present. And that's the exact place it needs to be most often, is right here, right now, in the present. What am I doing to affect change in my life, for my family, in my business today? And that's the only thing we can control. Our actions, our attitude today. That's it. So I went on a soapbox there.
That's fine. I know that's fine. Well, it's funny because one of the examples I gave you of for me personally, and we'll try to end this.
Yes,
in
absolutely.
a bit. Yeah, I know you got to run. We'll talk about technology some other time. But for me, when this happened, it happened a few years ago, and it really hurt me. I was just basically just looking the other way, looking at I was the guy, like you said, in the swimming pool, because this other company, they've had some level of success, and I look at it, I'm like, oh man, if I was still involved, blah blah blah. But we didn't happen for whatever reason, but it was slowing me down because I was focused more on that. I wasn't focused on my own thing.
I've been there.
And I found that I feel that when we talk about social media and stuff, like you said, you see somebody's post. I found that I was becoming more of a consumer of content rather than the producer of content.
Wow.
And that the producing of content is what makes me more happy, actually makes me happy and more fulfilled in life.
And it has the direct result on your ROI.
Yes. Yeah.
And maybe we could do a follow-up to this, and I may even bring Bill on one time to do, he does a talk called the Genius Zone we got from coaching. Were you at the South Jersey Entrepreneurs event that we did with the Genius Zone?
No, I don't think so. You did one related to Instagram posting or something, I think. No.
This was
just you. If it was with Bill,
I
have.
Okay, so we did at Seasons 52 in Cherry Hill. We did we did built a talk called the Genius Zone, which is there's two parts to this coin. Most people in business are looking for the highest ROI, and if I said ROI, you know exactly what that is,
Yeah,
right?
return on investment.
Yeah. So, but there's something else that's often overlooked. It's called ROE. And it's the return on energy that you get.
Okay.
So if I'm a barista at Starbucks and I love coffee and I'm really passionate about it, but I make a lot, like not that much money, I can't support a family on it, and I'm not picking I should have said a coffee shop. Then I may love coffee, but I can't support my family as unless I maybe own the business or something.
Yeah.
Or in the same token, I could be in some really big job somewhere and work 90 hours a week and make a lot of money, but maybe not have the time to invest in my wife and my family, and I have a horrible home life. And so, neither of those scenarios, in my opinion, are what I attribute success to be. So for me, where I find those two things intersect, where I get the highest return on investment and the highest return on energy in terms of I feel lighter, I feel like recording content like this, or connecting and coaching with realtors, out there, in the field and talking to, referral partners. That's what brings me the most joy. When I'm behind a desk, doing some of the loan level work and that kind of work was very heavy on me. It didn't, and that's when Bill tapped me on the shoulder to kind of bring this back full circle to the beginning. When Bill tapped me on the shoulder and saw that, that I had some great natural sales aptitude, and he was assembling this mortgage origination team and saw that, maybe my seat on the bus wasn't, to go the full loan officer route and, and sit and take the applications and do all that. That's not my highest and best use of time. But putting me in a position where I'm happiest, and it happens to be for us the place where we make the most money, when we're connecting with people who can refer us business, and it really is a win-win. They call that area where those two things intersect your genius zone. Okay. And finding the things in your business. Now, we all have things in our business we're going to do that we're not exactly thrilled with. Email, for example, is not my most exciting thing. But I'm never gonna, I'm never gonna get away from email, to some level, and I could have my assistant, I guess preview it. I guess there are some mechanisms you could build into place, but there are things that you're gonna always do that pay the bills that you have to do. But finding a way to automate, delegate, or eliminate the tasks and responsibilities in your business that are weighing heavy on you, that are not, they're not the things that bring the most income in, and they're not the thing that makes you the most happy. There are tech tools. There are Trello. Great little tip there. Trello, free. It's awesome.
You needed to put that in there.
I said it before we started. Trello, I had to mention Trello. I have a black belt in Trello. I love Trello. I talk about it everywhere I go. It's amazing. It's absolutely revolutionized my life. I use it for personal project and organization management. For our business, we use it quite substantially.
I actually use that working with Tutu Creative.
Exactly. Trello. Shout out to John Lorenzo, who connected us. Tutu Creative, amazing marketing firm here in South Jersey, Philadelphia area. Just finding ways and tools through technology, through automation, through delegation. We recently made a marketing assistant hire who's been absolutely incredible to our business. And then the other part of it is this is probably my hardest thing, because I'm a people pleaser, is the elimination, saying no. Saying, hey, you know what, I don't have the time to do that, actually. I would love to, if all things were equal, I would be honored to do that with you or go there, but I just can't. And so I've had to make some concessions this year in networking groups that I'm associated with, and not because I didn't love them and I enjoyed the people and they were great places, but there's some, you can't do it all. And so saying no has been very powerful to me, because I've been a yes kind of a guy.
Me too.
And, we're very similar.
So relate to that.
Right?
Yeah.
So having that, having that and being able to say no, and maybe let's do a follow-up to this. And
we're definitely doing a follow-up.
I would love to bring Bill in and we could talk more, but thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it, Rich.
No, I appreciate you coming on.
It's been my honor.
It's good to, I've been meaning to get some other different types of people outside of, I think I've been more construction, architect, marketing, but everything was a little bit more architect relating. I like to get a little bit kind of expand out a little bit more.
Love it,
And,
love it.
you know, we were
Thank you.
talking last week, and I know you'd be great to come on, and I'd love to have you on again.
I
so.
would be honored to. I would love to bring Bill.
Yeah.
If you like this, he's the architect of our business. I get the privilege of executing.
Yeah.
He's the mind behind it, so
Yeah.
it's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
we would love to. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And again, we'll try to figure out another time for you guys to come back on.
I love it.
All right, guys. So again, thanks for Matt for coming on. And this is Matt Auterson. This is Rich Sanford, aka Rich the Architect. And until next time, we'll see you. Dude.